So while we're in the flex, we're just going to hit some normal Micro Mini things too. Still, to this day, our most popular product, and there's a lot of reasons why. I think when you're going around the outside of a Micro Mini, there's 2 to 3 things that I always hit every time. 7-foot width's a big one. People like to know, or they like the fact that a Micro Mini is a little bit narrower than your average camper. So generally you're at 8 feet, this is 7. And then where it really differentiates itself is pretty much in a micro trailer segment. Everybody's always single axle. I mean, this camper, even with the flex package, is probably like 4,400 pounds. This camper is almost always going to be a single axle trailer, whereas we're doing it as a dual axle. We have a dual axle that's 3,300 pounds. We only have one single axle out of 10 floor plans we build in Micro Minis, and that's a 1700 BH. So once you're not thinking of 1700 BH, I would just generally think of Micro Minis or dual axle, 7-foot wide, small units. All of them are under 5,000 pound dry weights, and all of them have a pretty substantial amount of cargo carrying capacity. So dual 3,000 pound axles, this one's gonna be like 1,700 pounds cargo carrying capacity, which for a little camper is a lot. So that's kind of your unique exterior features. Really on the outside, a normal Micro Mini, 200 watt panel. It's going to have everything else. It's going to have your ladder. It's going to have your shower. It's going to have your spray port. It's going to have your charge controller, the Norco or BAL frame, which is a Hawk bolted frame, powder coated on areas that are exposed to the sun more often, like the bumper and the A-frame. So it has some of those nicer features. On the Flex, you get 2 200 watt solar panels versus 1. You're going to get a nicer MPPT charge controller versus a PWM charge controller. Then you're also going to get...
Those are just brands?
No. So a PWM charge controller is essentially a trickle charger. And the charge controller is basically keeping your battery from being overcharged. A MPPT is like a smart charge controller. So if that battery is really low, it can actually throttle the rate of charge to the battery to speed that up and slow it down as it starts to get full. So you're going to get a lot more efficiency out of an MPPT controller versus a PWM, which is giving you the same charge no matter what. It's just, it won't increase or decrease its flow. It also has like Bluetooth capabilities, things like that. Your Lithionics batteries. And honestly, I don't know if I hit on it last time, but with the Flex package, there's a lot to talk about in it. There's a ton. And there's a ton to remember, so really I can't overtrain on this, but 320 amp hours, and really the size is cool, whatever. The brand and the features that come with that brand are, I think, more important to the customer, because everybody else out there right now is still using Battleborn, Dragonfly. These are offshore companies that they don't have the proper UL listings to be put inside of a camper. They're really not intended for RV usage, so they have to put them out on the A-frame in their own special little box, generally. If anybody is using a unit or a battery on the inside of the camper that's not Lithionics, it's not safe. It does not have the proper UL listing, and it should not be put inside the camper. It's probably why we had like 17 Fusions catch on fire like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what is the new camp using.
What the brand is it Battleborn or New Camp?
No, it's not.
Dragon?
Battleborn and Dragonfly are the same thing.
Yeah.
Because New Camp has their lithium will be inside
under your bed.
Yeah.
Then if they're, I would assume New Camp is a smart enough company where they would have either using Lithionics or some sort of, as far as I know, Lithionics is the only properly UL listed battery for RV usage. So, yeah.
I'll have to look that up later.
Definitely. But some of those things that come with it, obviously it costs more than what those are. I can go buy a Battleborn lithium battery for like $100 for 100 amp hours or something like that. This is 320 amp hours and it costs like $3,200. So it's not a cheap battery. But there's a lot that comes with it. Comes with a $300,000 insurance policy if that battery ever would catch fire. They are?
Yeah.
Interesting. Need to call RVDA or RVIA and get them in trouble. Yeah. So $300,000 insurance policy, if anything would ever go wrong, it's covered. But also those built-in features, that 10% never die reserve power, the built-in heating system. I have a ton of stuff, and I don't know if I sent it. If not, I'll resend it. I have a ton of stuff in terms of Lithionics battery versus what they're comparing against is Battleborn, because it's the other most commonly used in the RV space. They even take them apart and show you the insides and what they look like and how much copper is used. One,
Dedicated just.
they have, or Lithionics has them.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. And you can see what the cells are made out of. He goes into the quality of the cell build, all that stuff. It all comes into play. But they're made in Sarasota, Florida. So they're a U.S. made battery, insurance policy, built-in heater, Bluetooth capability with an app, and then also the Never Die Reserve Power. That's what I'll hit on that battery because there's a lot more features to talk about on it. Inverter, also huge, 3,000 watts. Our motorhomes use 2,000 watt inverters. So for like an Echo, this is 1,000 watts more. Everything in this unit, no matter what, is always running through that inverter. I was just talking about the inverter being 3,000 watts, and everything in this unit always runs through the inverter. Even if I'm plugged into shore power, it's still running that shore power. Basically, you're just charging your battery at the rate you're inverting that power.
Inverter, then?
What's that?
Is there a separate disconnect for the inverter?
I just have an on-off button for it here.
Okay.
There's also one on the inverter itself, but since obviously it's hidden, we had to bring an extension monitor up here
What's
so
the
you can
Xantrex
control that. If there's Xantrex, yep. So, and it will run everything in the unit simultaneously, which is wild. So I can run my air conditioner and my microwave while on inverted power, which is, I think that's super cool. Obviously, you're gonna at the same time without tripping it out. So, because this is gonna run at about 1,000 watts when it's on like low AC mode, and then this is gonna run 1,100 watts.
How many amperage does that draw when it's kicking on?
When it's kicking on, its startup amperage is probably like 12.
Oh, so you can still run on 15 amp power then.
And then running amperage once it starts,
Like
it's
7.
8.4.
Okay.
8.4 to 9, right around there is its running amperage. So it is a lot lower than your traditional air conditioner.
Which is like 20 something.
To start up a normal AC, it's probably closer to 20 amps, and it's going to run around 14. So it's pretty significant how much more efficient this is than say a Dometic or a GE, and that's one of those things you're paying for when you get a Flex. So, but I give you that question, like people don't understand, and that's a big pitch on the Flex. When you get a unit right now from a lot of people you're going to be competing with on this, and they're getting an inverter in their unit. Make sure they're aware that, hey, that inverter probably has a yellow sticker on the outlets that it actually is sending power to. And it's usually going to be like a couple up by the bed, maybe one back here. Everything, every outlet, every USB, everything will run off inverted power. It doesn't matter if I want to use that outlet or this one or those two by the bed. That's unique. So I'll talk about that. And then your Truma systems. A suite of Truma appliances. Truma vent air conditioner. Truma Aquago water heater, which is an instant hot water heater. Essentially, it's tankless. It has just this little reservoir. And then you got your Truma VRV furnace. Water heater is one of my favorite things to talk about. It has that built-in filter, which is really neat. It has 2 modes on it, Eco and Comfort. On Eco mode, I can set that to 120 degrees, it's pretty stinking hot. And I can take it down to instant 95 degrees. Eco mode is going to keep it at 40, so it's going to keep the reservoir from freezing up on you, but it won't have instant hot water. It still will make that water heat up and get to your faucets super quick though. So that's a big one. Yes, I know there's other tankless hot water heaters out there, instant hot water heaters. Furion's come out with one. It's nothing close. If you open them up and look at a Truma, it's not even comparable. They're essentially the same price as a 6-gallon water heater. That's just, they have to have something new, and they worked with some OEMs to give an open house package for tankless water heaters. This one's special, having the 2 modes, having the built-in filtration system, and it's not going to make the water that runs through it like hot water drinkable water. It's just a large sediment filter to keep things from getting in there and gunking it up. But what I like about it is it also has decalcification modes on it. So long term, if I'm staying in areas where I have a lot of hard water, I'm filling up my fresh tank with hose water. Some campgrounds just have really harsh water. I know in Elkhart, if you don't have a nice system in your house will turn brown from all the rust in the water we have around our area. So, if
Michigan.
Yep. Well, not as bad as Flint, but so if if you're running that type of water through there a lot, over the years, that's going to eventually start to gunk up the water heater. You can buy decalcification tablets from Terma. You pop them in that water filter, and we have videos on Sourcebook. We have videos on YouTube on how customers can run that decalcification mode, how to access it in that control panel, and keep their water heater cleaned out and running well. Your Veurink furnace basically has 3 or 4, I think it's 3 different BTU outputs. Generally, your furnace in a normal furnace is going to be like high or low. This can, without me touching that panel, adjust what BTU output it is using to help save propane. So I don't pitch it as like an electrification trailer. I pitch this as it's a micro mini with a high efficiency package on it. All the appliances are efficient. It's got obviously efficiencies built in with the inverter, the battery, the two solar panels, the nicer charge controller. But to talk about it all as just a lithium battery system, I think you're selling it short. And the other thing I love about it, one of my favorite things to talk about to customers, is they could buy the KZ Escape, or they could buy a normal micro mini. They could buy a million of the other products out there, and a lot of them want to go do this themselves anyway. So they're going out and they're going to spend to put in 400 amp hours of lithium batteries, 2 solar panels, run all the wiring, run that wiring then to a couple outlets, not the whole unit, just a couple outlets that are actually going to get power off of inverted power. Probably still not be able to run the air conditioner because they're going to have a normal air conditioner. They're going to spend 10 grand plus doing that anyway. I mean, the inverter alone's $2,000. The battery's $3,200. When you look at what you get with the Flex, it's turnkey. You get it all with a warranty from Winnebago or Lithionics or Xantrex, you know. But there's warranty on it. It's not just done after the fact. Then somebody goes to trade this in. This VIN pulls in any day as a micro mini Flex. It does not pull in as a micro mini that somebody spent 10 grand out of pocket to turn it into this, which means they're going to get more for their investment on trade-in or down the road. Whereas if somebody brings you a camper and it's a 2017 whatever, and I put lithium batteries on it, though I got an extra solar panel up there, you know, I put an inverter on it, you're like, cool.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it worth any more on trade-in though. You don't care about that. Whereas with this, they're going to get something out of that. So I feel like you can sell that to that customer. And now it's financeable. It's not out of pocket after the deal. It's financeable. So that's probably one of my favorite things to talk about with a customer is when you really look at what a Flex is and the packages it comes with versus doing it out of pocket, you get so much more. Because that 10 grand wouldn't include all the Truma stuff. It's not going to include wiring onto every outlet. It's literally just going to be your batteries, your inverter, your panels, and then the labor for the dealer to actually wire that all up. It's tough to wire it once you got walls up and you got ceiling panels up. You're whipping all that stuff down, and that's all labor and that's all time. And you guys charge a lot for labor. So that's where that cost gets really built up for those people. Every dealer does, man. It's, you know, 150, 160 bucks an hour for that stuff. So
do we run into people wanting to do this on their own? Do we?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's what he's saying is a huge deal.
it is.
Especially with being able to finance, you know, the financeable part of it. That's big.
And you'll get something back for it.
Right.
If you ever trade into a dealer. Now you can sell those outright if you do that stuff yourself, but that's like buying a Corvette Z06 and putting $30,000 to $40,000 in the engine of it. But when you go to sell it, you got to find that right buyer that actually wants to do that with that car, right?
Or you can just go buy a Porsche. Be done with it.
Right.